Zach Moss.
And I'm AJ Finney.
And this is
Hippie?
Not Hippie.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 72 of Hippie, Not Hippie.
Yeah.
Today, we're joined with a wonderful guest. You may have met him at any of the psychedelic events if you've been in and around the Denver area. Eric Burden, everybody, from the Denver Spore Company. At least you're hearing it. I love the ka-clonk, ka-clonk. We had Mike Kaplan on recently, and he didn't want to wear the headphones, and Zach would hit the button.
Real diva. Cared about his hair a lot.
Really?
Yeah,
It was so great. Kaplan he would go, button! I had no idea what button was being hit.
It's just fart noises.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I was like, how great would it be if it was just like, "Purr?" And you're like, yeah!
Bow, 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 bow.
Oh. How are you doing today, Eric?
I am doing great.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
happy to be on here.
You have a long night after the site. We were at the psychedelic event last night at the Bug Theater.
With Mike, yeah.
Yeah,
How'd it go?
Dude, I thought Mike crushed. I mean, I like him, but
Was he the second act?
For the last guy.
Oh, the last guy, yeah.
With the beard.
Yeah. The New York guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who all was on?
Billy Joe Gillespie, because she's Outhouse Productions, kind of runs everything. So she hosted, and I mean, she did such a professional job. She went out, did a few jokes that wrapped into the entire situation of the event, and I mean, I don't know, she maybe only did 5-6 minutes, and then started bringing people on. Hannah Gray was out there.
I don't think I know Hannah Gray.
She was the one that put on the Front Range Funny Fest. She's new. She's a newer comic, but it's interesting to watch her growth from the first time I've seen her to where she's at now. She's also got a podcast. Her parents were deadheads. She's got there's a perfect
we should have her on
background
the show.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, she's funny.
Yeah.
And then I feel terrible because Kayvon is one of the guys that was there. This other guy was from Oklahoma City, and I apologize for not remembering his name, but he was very funny.
He was funny.
Yeah, dude.
This Will Smith bit.
Yeah, he was mixing up.
Was he real skinny?
Yeah.
Kind of long hair?
No longer hair.
No.
Well, that would
wasn't
be a
real
guy that I did a
Yeah.
show with in Oklahoma whose name I can't remember.
Okay.
Either. It was also
But if you're listening to the episode and you were there with Kayvon, you came up from Oklahoma City, you were extremely funny, and I apologize for not having your name on deck here.
so many thousands of names and comments.
Yeah.
You know, are there any strains of mushrooms that have been shown to help with memory?
I think most of them.
Yeah.
I can tell you what doesn't help with memory.
Lion's mane, right?
Lion's
Is the
mane.
main
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That is the lion mane one.
But I
Yeah.
don't know if
Isn't it weird that it's a memory helping mushroom called lion's mane, but then it sounds like you're lying about it.
Yeah.
But then Mike Kaplan closed it out and did. I mean, Jesus, dude, I've seen Mike do really well before, but last night I think he murdered. Like, it was perfect. Like, his stream of consciousness. He also, at one point, goes, "I'm going to do 3 jokes," and like, there was a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then I was like, "Holy shit! You had 3 almost identical punchlines to the thing you brought up at the very beginning." It was
the
absolutely
whole
amazing.
act he did.
Dude. It was
Yeah.
so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
But you know how he was on the pod, like his stream of conscious ability to just talk and then find little wordplay was absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, no. My dad was like, I kept wanting like. He had like he's like, I wanted to rib him about linguistics and stuff more, and like I was like, yeah, you can give him shit, Dad.
Yeah, get in there.
Like you can, I was like, I'd never met Mike before at all, and we were giving each other shit.
Yeah.
Like it's fun. It's part of the thing.
And he was talking about his book that he did with Ramin.
Yeah.
And I got one of those last night, brought it home, let Marciana open it. Did you start going through it yet?
I haven't looked at it yet.
Oh my God. Like the first 4 pages, you're going to die.
Really?
Like it's unbelievable. It's funny from the point you open the book, you go, okay, this is already just ridiculous. It's really good.
Yeah, I was speaking of looking, I was trying to pick mushroom strains off your site, and I went to Reddit to research some of them, and the one I think they were called like
Albedo?
Albedos.
Yeah.
Somebody, every description was just, I ate these and saw Van Gogh visuals.
That one's actually one that I crossed myself.
Yeah, I saw that
yeah.
it was like an original strain of yours. So, I guess heavy on the. Would you
visuals.
agree with that? Is the description
would.
of those? Yeah,
I would.
Yeah.
So
I'm
they're like a
also
very
kind of-
heavy visual strain.
Yeah,
What is your favorite personally?
that's one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was like when I was gonna pick one. That was one that I was leaning towards picking, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna throw it to him and see what he thinks. And my girlfriend gave me all kinds of buzzwords, and I was like, all right, I'll send those over too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Awesome. Well, let's start here. Eric, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
From here.
So you're
Yeah.
a native.
Down in Lake Littleton.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, all right. Brothers, sisters.
I have older sister and a younger brother that he passed 6 years ago.
Okay. Oh,
Yep.
sorry about that.
Yep.
Should have read my notes.
No, you're good. He's like, so tell me about your sister.
Boom. Yeah.
yeah, I wrote that in the notebook. I was like, don't bring up family,
bring up
AJ,
family.
asshole. Jesus.
Way to be a burden. What was family like growing up? Your parents.
Pretty normal suburban,
Okay.
household.
What's your? Here's a question we ask everybody on the show. What is your first like memory of hippies or encounter with
I mean, I
hippies, or what
guess-
comes first to mind when you think of your first experience with hippies, and like kind of how did that have a positive or negative like connotation to you?
I think of, fleas and the smell of bad eggs.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
fleas can't live on humans. You're thinking of lice. Yeah.
I guess, my dad listened to a lot of classic rock and stuff growing up.
Okay.
So there was kind of like
Was your dad a hippie?
they were hippies before they had us.
Oh,
Okay.
I think they unhippied themselves through.
Yeah.
So they spent a lot of time in Boulder, and then we're eventually like, we've got kids coming. Let's get down to Littleton.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
how did they dehippify? There's a lot of Catholicism. No,
no, there wasn't really any religion
Yeah?
growing up.
they just cleaned it up.
Yeah.
burned their
just
tie
worked,
dyes in the backyard.
just
Yeah.
Got 9 to 5s or.
What were they doing before? Like, what did your parents do as far as like work? What were their professions?
My mom always worked like in the medical field,
Okay.
and my dad's always on construction.
Gotcha. That's the same.
But I remember like the stories I hear before I was born. Like they had lots of animals.
Yeah.
I remember lots of the what's kind of like the hemp rope
Oh.
macrame.
Macrame.
Yeah, my mom was really into macrame. Anyway, when I was little,
You had a lot of hanging plants around your house.
in the beginning when I was little.
Yeah.
They kind of phased out.
It's interesting now looking back on it. Macrame is really building patterns out of nowhere, and you're like, where'd those patterns come from?
I'm smoking weed.
Right.
What the fuck did you just say?
Patterns.
Macrame's like building patterns out of
Building patterns
nowhere.
out of nowhere. Where'd those patterns come from?
Well, it's from the hemp.
What do you mean? No. But the hemp doesn't just start as a well, okay. I see what you're doing. If you're smoking the hemp and then you're creating the pattern.
Well, no, it comes from weaving hemp.
Right. But
You say out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, the weave is the pattern.
Yeah.
So you're creating a pattern.
She was probably following a book.
You're creating a pattern out of nowhere.
I am creating a pattern. It's this is what my psychiatrist calls cycling.
Oh God, I wasn't smoking weed because my dad has. Well, I've been smoking weed. My dad was here, but I wasn't smoking weed like how I normally do, which is enough to not dream.
Oh.
And I
Is that why you were timid on the other day?
Oh man, I had a dream last night that fucking I came out of a show and someone was going through my shit and I was like, "What are you doing?" And they started rapping one of my rap songs from my 20s to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And he goes, "I'm from the future, and 100 years in the future, your like shitty rap music is like it's the most popular music, or like Bill and Ted kind of.
I was about to say
yeah.
that's the breakdown of Bill and Ted.
Yeah, but he goes, but the difference was he was like, you're gonna die in a car accident when you leave here.
Oh no.
And otherwise, I can take you to the future, and you can like come perform in the future. And I was like, "You're fucking crazy!" And I got in my car and drove away, and got in an accident and woke up.
You should have went with him.
Yeah. So man, I'm back on the weed hard again.
I like it. It was a few episodes ago. You were like, I think I need to be studied. I should be studied. I should quit smoking pot. I think I'm ready to turn it in. And now you're like, fuck dreaming.
Well, yeah, no.
But
If they were studying what was happening, maybe I'd be down. But I'm like, I shouldn't quit until I can be studied.
Yeah.
You know.
It kind
I
of
don't know. Are you a pot smoker?
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Like probably been the last 5 years. It's been.
Were you a heavy pot smoker before that?
Yeah.
Did you have
through high school?
Did you have insane dreams when you quit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that gives me crazy dreams is lion's mane.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Even like if I microdose it, it's almost like I'm excited to go to sleep. 'Cause I'm
Really?
like, what the fuck is gonna happen tonight?
Wow. I wonder if you did like lion's mane with melatonin.
So I didn't know this till recently. Melatonin, or like the sleep aid or whatever,
Yeah.
is illegal in Australia.
Oh shit.
It's like fucking heroin or something there.
Really?
So yeah, it's like I think I don't. It's not like heroin, but it's like I've heard of people like bringing it to Australia and then being like
Sir.
trying to smuggle drugs into our country.
Well, something I found out about melatonin this year that I didn't know about is that you can't just take it like every now and again. You have to. It's got to build up in your system to really start to work.
It's supposed to not be very good for you.
Well,
long term use.
The only couple times I've taken it, I've gotten like I felt like I have dry mouth.
Yeah.
But if I touch my tongue, there's spit on it. And
I'm wow.
Oh man,
there's
This melatonin.
I don't have dry mouth, but
that's
feels like
happened
dry
to
mouth.
me on mushrooms with shit in my
Oh
pants. but the opposite. I felt like there was shit in there, and then when I touched it, it was dry. Yeah, and then I had to really investigate. But, yeah.
you're like chasing your tail around.
Yeah, no. Like I'm just gonna hang in the bathroom, guys. Feel like this is the best place to be while you're hallucinating shit in your butt.
Oh man.
But,
Now, Eric, why did you decide to quit smoking pot?
I think I just kind of grew out of it.
Okay.
You know, there was a lot of times.
so
me, it was-
mature, Eric.
Yeah, no, yeah. Right. Well, I just decided I wanted to be better than every goddamn hippie out there.
Yeah.
Personally attacked.
No, like even I remember like in high school, it would kind of build anxiety. You know, I
Yeah.
really get locked in my head, and I just kind of always keep smoking. And then in my 30s, I was just kind of like, "Do you really like this anymore?
Were you
Did
an
you ever really like this?
Were you an everyday guy?
For a while? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, through like my 20s, and I was in like early cannabis, grew for dispensary.
Maybe that's where I knew. What dispensary did you work with?
It was called what the hell was it called now?
Were you like in
it was a small-
2009 ish? You were in it.
Yeah, 2010 and 11 probably. I also
Okay.
did like a lot of, you know, underground buddy growing back in
I mean,
you know what I mean?
all of us that opened stores, it wasn't like, oh, hey, there's this growing cannabis thing. You know? Like, we were like, what?
Yeah.
We can make our grows legal?
Yeah.
It was called the Timberline. And it was
Okay.
over off like Colorado and I-70.
I had the relief
Okay.
center in the Highlands on 32nd and Tejon.
Okay.
So we maybe that's why you look familiar.
Maybe.
Well, those early meetings too were pretty small. There's like 50, people at them, So, yeah,
Wow.
maybe we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I remember Timberline though. I remember the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the growth was over off like 6th and what is that? 6th and Santa Fe. And it was right at that's like a really busy intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I was kind of like, why do we have the dispensary over in the BFE?
Yeah.
In the grow. I'm like, literally,
Seems opposite.
Denver's most busy corner.
yeah, that definitely is a.
Yeah.
But
I always
shit was
said-
weird, It's
Yeah.
like some people were like, "You can do this here, you can do that." I mean,
Yep.
I know when we were looking for a storefront, we called 100 people, and like 6 of them were like down, and 94 of them were like, fuck no.
Right.
And then, the ones that were down had weird conditions and stipulations, and I don't know. We definitely paid more money in rent than we fucking should have, They taxed us.
They did.
Yeah.
I mean, I would definitely, as a landlord, would not want to rent to a grower.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we were talking about Australia, I had a thing I wanted. Are there any like psychedelic strains of mushrooms from Australia? Are just ones that probably kill you? Because everything in Australia is fucking crazy.
I'm actually not too sure. I don't know of any like landrace strain kind of stuff that comes from there. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know if do they really have any like real tropical areas?
I don't know. I mean,
I think a lot of it's like kind of desert, but there's like
might be a
Southern
little too
Colorado.
dry.
But I think in like
New
Tasmania,
Zealand,
maybe is more tropical. I always imagine Tasmania as like a jungle island, but I don't know. Maybe it's not.
I don't know.
don't look at me. I got nothing.
Well,
Oi, dickhead.
but
Yeah, because most of it comes from, especially like the psilocybe cubensis. They all come from like,
Northwest.
no, the more tropical areas, rainforests, Central
Okay.
America, Asia,
Yeah.
Southeast Asia. Some
Are Puerto
African stuff
Ricans
in there.
actually from Puerto Rico?
Should be.
Yeah.
But there was
Originally supposed to be. I mean, now it's kind of like gotten into this hot soup of,
Yeah.
and everything's become pretty domesticated that you're going to, if you're going to
Yeah.
get from a vendor online or something, it's just been domesticated.
it's kind of going the way that like when marijuana got legalized, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it goes from one thing and then everyone is now scientifically. Would you say that you're enhancing the strains for specific needs, or you're
Yeah.
just working on different genetics?
Kind of both. There's a lot of like, especially with like all the cups that have popped up, there is like this drive for highest potency,
Yeah.
which is kind of, it's cool in its way. I don't know if I wouldn't say it's counterproductive, but it's just kind of like, it's only going towards one thing, and that's more potency.
Right.
And now like these mushrooms don't even look like mushrooms anymore.
Right. Well, you look at like a Jack Frost. I always thought looked weird because it seems like they turn up.
And that's just letting them go longer.
Yeah.
Like pretty much all cubes will do that. They just don't drop spores, so there's not really much harm in letting them turn up.
Okay.
Or like if you did that with a golden teacher, they'd be turned up, but they'd be purple black.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like that kind of pushes people to pick them earlier.
Is that bad when they go to purple black like
Not
that?
necessarily bad. It's just spores.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can eat them.
That's what happened with the Jedis that I had. Like,
Yeah. It's right over
yeah.
there.
At one point, I took a picture and I was like, "These look amazing. Like they look picture perfect." And then I came home from work and I was like, "What the fuck
Yeah,
happened?"
you turned around. And then you came, yeah.
I can't believe I read something that was like they will go from pins to like semi-mature to fully mature like so fast.
So fast. Day or two.
Yeah.
So-
I didn't believe it.
So when's the optimal time to pick them is when they're still kind of
Closed
right?
cap, yeah, but like a lot of stuff, and that's going to be like traditionally what people are always going to say. Like I've had stuff tested that's gone to spore,
Yeah.
and it's not much lower, like noticeably lower than closed caps are.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So that's what I was reading recently is that so even with PEs, like it's a lot of they're hard to tell because the veil doesn't fully break. And then when it does, like what I've got with apes is the heads keep turning black, which I'm not even sure if those
means
are
they're-
aborts.
That's ready then.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like blowing up, dying. They're just done growing.
And why use an acronym when you can say penis?
I don't know. I guess I don't have the envy.
Throw it out there.
Yeah.
Bring
That's-
that's a
bring the
way to
penis back?
normalize saying penis.
Yeah,
You know?
I definitely doing my part. I love to guys do like a lot of pop-ups or events
Yeah.
and like mystical fairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you get like the old ladies that are coming by and they're just there to get some rocks and
Drop a little penis
So-
on them.
so-
and they're
Penis-
flipping through the book and then just the giggles and the points.
Yeah.
So the penis envies don't drop spores, though. You're saying, right?
Not as much.
Because if they did and they were black, then they would be black penis.
Those are much larger.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a true envy.
That's funny.
But there is a lot of like non-sporulating strains. So then to like continue those genetics, you kind of just can only work from like clones basically, or through like live culture or agar work, where you're just expanding the mycelium, kind of like how bananas don't drop seeds. So all the bananas that we eat are the same bananas because they just take cuttings of the banana trees and just replant.
Right.
So it's kind of similar to that, but it's just all kind of done
Do
in
you
a
notice
lab.
degradation over time like you would with cannabis clones?
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's kind of nice thing there is you can keep like what's called just like master slants or master cultures.
Yeah.
And you just keep those like in test tubes stored in a refrigerator, and it kind of slows that down. That way you're not taking cuttings from cuttings.
Yeah.
And you can for a while, but then you kind of always have this mother that you can go back to and work from.
Gotcha.
So I recently read about this frog that had a mushroom growing on it. Are you familiar with
No,
this?
I didn't see that one.
So, yeah, and scientists are kind of alarmed. It's like a brown, like the common brown little mushroom you find in the woods or whatever that grows out of wood. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But yeah, scientists observed a frog with that mushroom growing off of its leg, and they're really concerned.
And the frog's alive.
And the frog's alive. And they're really concerned because these mushrooms shouldn't be able to get what they need to live off of organic tissue.
Which,
And-
I mean, if the frogs... frogs aren't clean, you know? And it probably... Like, I've seen mycelium grow on, like, literally just dust on glass.
It is wild because you can, when you start to dive it down, there is scientific study that says human genetics is very close to mushroom genetics. Like the
All
way that
animal
mycelium.
genetics,
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of genetic... I mean, we all kind of came from the same singled cells in the beginning. So
Right.
if you go back far enough, we all kind of are, fucking.
Yeah. One of us was a frog. The other was the mushroom growing on the frog.
But yeah, I just...
But they're closely related.
Right.
That's
crazy.
It's crazy. And scientists are like, they shouldn't still be able to like do this, know? And
and like the thing that can surprise you the most about mushrooms is it's like the mycelium itself. Like when you grow a grow block or something, it seems like it's a lot of mycelium,
Right.
but you can get like a single mushroom to pop off of not much at all.
Right. But then here's a question too. Once those blocks get going, once they start to dry out, I was talking to another mycologist that grows a lot of gourmet stuff as well, and he had oyster mushrooms and turkey tails, and at this point he has truckloads of mycelium blocks that have stopped yielding.
Spent blocks.
Yeah. So then he just chucked them, and he goes, next thing you know, out in the yard, it's just oyster mushrooms going nuts, and the bugs and animals love it. So to me, I was like, oh, so these blocks are spent, but if they're around enough humidity, they might just start to fruit again.
But it's like on a commercial scale, like, is it worth keeping those around when you can fill that spot with fresh block?
Right.
And I'd like, my mom one time called me. She was like, Eric, there's mushrooms in my garden. And I was like, that's normal, It's like, and she's like, no, there's the mushrooms in my garden.
oh, like your mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like
You said this was good dirt.
Yeah. And I was like, it'll just go away.
But it's not going to bother the food.
No.
There's no way. That's an interesting thing, because I imagine what your mom was thinking is that it's going to cross-contaminate whatever's in the garden.
Yeah, and she just doesn't like the idea of... Her hippie days are over.
Oh.
And she wasn't mad, but
Yeah.
she was like, I don't think it's a good idea to be mixing this stuff in the garden.
She doesn't want the psilocybin mixing with the squash.
Well, yeah, you could find a new crossover.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck psychedelic mushrooms. I sell psychedelic tomatoes.
Yeah. Spaghetti squash envy.
Yeah. That'd be a nice...
Or big old
But
purple eggplant.
back to the mushroom frog, that is a much smaller mushroom than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
It's just a tiny little guy.
Sure it's not
that
the
could
frog's
technically
dick?
be like a chunk of dirt stuck in there,
Yeah.
and that just fruits a mushroom out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that, and it could be like a parasitic thing, but I think that's just
I like how they're like, scientists all over the world are stumped and puzzled, and
Right.
Eric's like, you fucking idiots. It's just a goddamn piece of dirt on his leg, probably.
But if you said piece of dirt on a frog leg, that's not going to sell news.
No, with mushroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, how did you get into this? Like, what was your venture into mushrooms in general?
Pretty much dove straight into psilocybes.
Okay. Had you already done them like while you were still experimenting with marijuana or
So I had a pretty unpleasant experience. My first experience with psilocybin in high
heavy
school.
dose?
Yeah. There was the whole, you got to eat an eighth
I love
or you're not going to feel it.
the
for fucking
face
trip.
says everything when you go, yeah, bad friends.
But it was. I mean, no, good friends.
First
No bad
mushrooms I
intentions,
had,
but-
you needed an eighth to get it off. Second mushrooms I had, you needed a gram. Man, fucking people were losing their shit around town on those. Like,
And that might have been like the same time, the same batch, because it was bad.
Just
It
too
was
much.
on a Halloween, and we were partying in a Subway parking lot. So, but I just remember I was wearing this snowboard coat, and I had like a fake fur kind of thing on the inside. And it was in the back seat of my buddy's car.
Yeah.
you weren't in costume?
I wasn't in costume.
Yeah, it was a snowboard.
I was just I was a mushroom. But I was like chewing on that fake fur. And that's when they really started to kick in. And I looked over at my buddy and I was like, man, this fur is fucking me up, And he was like, that's the mushrooms. And I was like, the mushrooms? And he was like, yeah, we ate mushrooms. And it was just like, went into this whole like ego, I was young,
yeah.
experiencing ego death, not knowing what the fuck was going on. Just really unpleasant.
Yeah.
So that kind of
How many hours you spent in that parking lot?
like 4. Then I
Yeah.
went over to my buddy's house, and his dad was like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
How did you feel the next day? Like after
A lot
you
of
still
like
soul
wonder,
soft?
yeah. And I remember being like, "Man, that was really." It was like I looked in the mirror too long. When
Yeah.
you get that feeling.
Yeah.
I was just like, "Well, what the fuck am I?" And I was like, "It was like 6 hours of that shit."
Yeah.
And also crazy fractals, and
And
so I remember
had you-
being curious after that.
Had you taken any psychedelics prior
No.
to that?
No.
Okay, so that's
No.
your first jumping off point.
Yep. A Jones soda and mushrooms.
What flavor soda?
Cream soda.
Yeah, we used to mix them in with yogurt. That was our.
It was always like the worst way to do it. I remember one time my buddy ate them with a cold can of Chef Boyardee raviolis and didn't even break them up and just was like, "Oh, you're gonna get sick."
I
When
shoved
I was a
them
kid-
into like Hostess cupcakes. That was kind of interesting. The ones with the chocolate ones, we'd break them in half and shove them in the cream and be like, "This will be great."
I don't know why it took so long to be like, maybe we should just like break this up into tiny pieces.
Right? Why not grind it?
Yeah.
Maybe we should make tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many bad so much just before the internet. I think there's so many funny we thought you could smoke them.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
I smoked
definitely.
some
God, it's
mushrooms
gotta taste so bad.
and I was like, man, I don't think this is working.
I think I might have just
And
wasted
then I was
mushroom-
like, I don't think we have the kind you can smoke.
We legitimately we would eat them or we'd eat acid. And if we had leftover mushrooms, we'd grind the mushrooms up with the pot because we thought that was taking us to a new level. And it probably just wasn't. It seemed more
No,
ceremonial.
it definitely
just turns
wasn't.
it into
It definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were just smoking to smoke mushroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, I still remember what smoking mushrooms taste like.
I bet
It
you
is
do.
bad.
It's really bad.
I never smoked them straight. That's
And then we went out to this cow pasture too because we were like, we got a mycology book at the fucking bookstore in the mall. And we're like, all right, we think they grow out of cow shit in the morning. So we would just start going out to farms at like 4 a.m. when we were still drunk and picking mushrooms out of cow patties and be like, yeah, I think these kind of look like the ones in the picture. And then we need to eat them. And I don't really think those ever worked either. Nobody got sick.
That's good.
I ate 6 or 7 like little fresh guys that were about like that, and I fried my ass off. My
Yeah.
buddy Bill, I don't know where he was getting them, somewhere on his uncle's property, but man, he had a hat, and they were all
Yeah,
none of them were that much bigger than that. And he
Was
goes,
it like Missouri though? Because
it was Kansas. So I mean, yeah, it was in cow fields at that point. And when
what do you think those were?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not.
But
maybe.
I mean, they were gnarly. I can tell you that. Whatever they were.
Placebo.
No, it definitely weren't placebo because at one point, like wherever, unless he was growing them himself. But I mean, dude, they were tiny little guys with small stems and, little veils. Mm-hmm. And I probably ate 6 of them and didn't expect anything to happen. At one point, running down the highway between Leavenworth and Lawrence, I just remember going, whoa, fuck, aren't you going to stop? And he's like, what? I was like, you just hit that fucking deer. There's blood everywhere. And he goes, nope, those are kicking in.
What?
Yeah, you saw a deer.
Was it
You
an actual-
hallucinated an entire deer in blood?
I saw him
Or
hit.
there was a hit deer?
No. It was like in my head, I was just spacing out, and then I saw him hit an animal, and then it was just fucking red for a second. I was like, what the fuck? And he goes, nah, dude, we didn't hit anything. And I was like, oh, no. Like, I'm
Were you
kind of
sick?
in and out. Was I sick?
Yeah.
No, just fucking high.
Fever?
Yeah.
No, don't know. Just 19 years old, just tripping hard. That's it.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird.
Because usually it's like typically like the southern regions, Georgia through Texas, that whole coast through there.
Yeah. South
It
Carolina.
gets and it goes up north, Arkansas. But also like it's nature. It floats around everywhere.
Yeah.
It's also a fucking teenager too who could have fucking told you anything. He could have got some mushrooms and was like, "Yeah, I found these."
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
I mean, some of my friends definitely got some portobellos in Vegas one time, and that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, these weren't. I mean, I definitely felt it because when the night was over, I was dropped off at my house, and I had to ride that out for another 3 hours before I could go to bed. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, and two, now it's like you're not going to probably find them naturally in Colorado, but so
Right.
many fucking people are growing these things. Like those spores are so light.
Yeah.
Like I got them on me right now. I guarantee you, I do.
Oh, dude, I was talking about Austin, this
Little
guy in the
mushrooms
Springs,
growing off of this frog over here.
Yeah, look at this frog leg.
and he goes, yeah, we're breathing in spores every day, all day.
Oh yeah, by the
It's-
millions.
Yeah. So, and I wouldn't doubt if someone's not chucking blocks where they shouldn't.
Oh, gotta be. I mean, it's just there's got to be so many just going into the trash. Not
Well,
everybody's
yeah.
composting their
Oh yeah,
mushroom substance.
I mean, I just think of like how much fucking rock wool I had to dispose of.
I know.
And back before it was legal, you'd be like,
fill up
well,
dumpsters.
Yeah, you just go throw that shit in a fucking trash can. Somebody'd be like, what the fuck? We had people trying to break into our dumpsters to steal our fucking rock wool once we started, had dispense. I'm like, I fucking made a big sign and I was just like, it's just fucking rock wool and
Yeah.
stems, you fucking dipshits.
Yep.
Like, stay the fuck out of here. Like,
yeah.
I want to be like, here's a number. Call me. I'll give you a fucking quarter of weed or something.
No
like,
shit.
what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Yep.
Jesus. Because, they'd fuck the trash can up so bad, like trying to steal the dumbest shit.
And you're like, in
And we
whose
had
mind
to
are we throwing away valuable stuff?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
not even any scraps in
And
here.
we had it unlocked until the laws came where you had to like
Yep, I
secure
remember
your
that.
fucking dumpsters and
Yep.
shit. And then as soon as you had to do that, it's like, God, can't we just let people see there's fucking nothing in here? Like, we had somebody like fucking like I think tie a fucking truck up to one and try and like rip the fucking top open or something. And then you have to keep it secured in case you get inspected. So then you have to fucking call someone to come fix the fucking. It's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
Yeah. The regulations for mushrooms seem like everybody learned a lot from weed.
I think so too. Definitely. They're like,
Yeah.
let's set this up so it's.
Because,
I mean, it's-
when I heard like the 4 feet, but you can go as high as you want, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's fucking.
Yeah,
I love
12
that.
by 12 room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
but then you
that's
can
the
just
law.
build a tent.
They could do it like, I'm going to 12 by 12 elevator shaft.
There's gonna. I'm just laughing because there's gonna be like a skyscraper in Denver
There
with
is.
no windows. That's just 12 by 12
yeah.
or 16 by 16. So there's little walkways and ladders up the floors or whatever. But yeah, it's fucking.
But that is like a nice setup, it's a pretty, I do support like harm reduction and education. But
well, you do a lot of
limit,
clinics and stuff now, right? Where you're actually going out and talking about harm reduction and how these things are grown and how to deal with these things responsibly.
Yeah, I try to. You know, I don't really like host any like. I try to support a lot of people that are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I have like monthly meetups. I'm more of like a grow guy.
Okay.
Help people grow their own. You know, I'm not out here trying to set up warehouses for people.
Right.
You know, I'm like just that personal cultivation.
Do you think
it seems like you learned from marijuana too, where you're like, sell the picks and shovels?
For sure. I mean, absolutely. You know, because like I don't want to be grinding in the garden all day. I mean, I was like, I wasn't even glorified. I was a fucking janitor, is what I was when I was a grower.
No, people are like, you run a grow with thousands of plants. It must be the best job in the world. And I was like, industrial agriculture fucking sucks. I'm basically a fucking field worker, and I do that all fucking, 14 hours a day.
Yep.
Like, my back hurts. I'm fucking covered in chemicals, and I'm pissed.
Yep. And it's just like growing weed. It was like, the first 5 harvests was like little kid giggly. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm living this is the best life. And then it was like after that, you're like, oh my God, I don't even like the way this shit smells anymore.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Then you get to perpetual. Then you get to perpetual, and you're like, oh cool, we harvest a shitload of weed every fucking week,
Yep.
you know, or every day, or whatever you're at, you know, like fuck every day. God.
Yeah.
That was every week, but man, every day. Oh, God.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something that you think is happening where people are like literally there are underground warehouses where people are now looking at this as a major business?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Like, I mean, that's been
the
going
black
on
market
forever.
For fucking mushrooms has always been there.
Right.
You know,
right.
Granted, the demand is higher than it's ever been just because of
people
every news source, there's big buzz around mushrooms right now.
Well, because they actually work to treat a lot of problems Americans are having with their mental health.
Absolutely.
Which is fucking awesome.
But do you think with the like out here now, so because you can source them legally, do you think that's like lowering the amount of black market movement?
Well, right now you can't really source them legally because you can't buy or sell them.
But you can get everything you need to do it yourself.
No. Yes, you can. And I'm not sure, like, I think that most of those, like, the big black market players are still just kind of doing that. I'm getting a lot of people that are interested in it that don't have to go to a black market.
Right.
They can just buy a couple grow bags, chuck them in the closet, and start a microdosing regimen that'll last all year long.
Right.
You know? So it's like, I get a lot of more people that come to me. They're not like, I'm tired of Jim's freaking golden teacher, so I want to do my own.
Right,
you know,
right.
It's like it's people that don't have access.
Right. Or I always thought that it's fascinating to be able to just it's like self-regulating. So you're like, oh, I get to do this on my own. You get to watch it grow, and you go from point A to point B to the final harvest, and that's amazing. I also, and this is the hippie side of me for sure, but I feel like the energy that you put into these plants or fungus or whatever it is you're growing gives that energy back to you.
Totally does. I mean, it's kind of like I just call it like the backyard tomato. Like when you grow your own backyard tomato, it's going to taste better than any tomato you've ever tasted in your life because it's probably better than most store-bought tomatoes, but it's just like you have that connection with it. Like you waited for that baby to turn red. You know, it's been green all year long, and you've been out there, you know, you spent $90 on this tomato plant by the end of the season, and it's like
you've had to fight off the
It's
squirrels.
there. Yeah.
Jake used to have a stand-up bit about that where he'd say like what you just said, and he'd be like, I wonder if that's how hamsters feel when they eat their young. Jesus Christ.
So much better than the neighbor hamster.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time to play What's Under the Table.
Okay.
Oh, boy. What do we got under the table? Ooh. We got a package that Eric brought
Special
us.
delivery.
Oh,
man.
looks like yeah.
Oh boy. We've got some syringes in here. Is it okay for me to touch it? Can I wash my hands?
Nope, you're good.
Yeah, they're good.
Yep.
Woo boy. Whoa.
There should be some needles in there too, or did I fuck up?
No, I think there is.
Okay.
I was pulling the syringes out first.
So let's see.
5 syringes.
Let's see what we got.
Syringes.
And 5 needles.
All right. So we got stormtroopers. GTs. Ooh, tidal waves.
Ooh.
Oh, gorilla wizards.
Ooh, I've been liking that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So 2 albinos.
tell
Tidal wave.
me a little bit about these. I think
Gorilla
everyone's
wizard?
probably
It's like a Gandalf crossed with we kill a gorilla.
yeah.
So big chunky fruits, nice albino,
Hell yeah.
good potency.
Stormtroopers are albinos, yeah?
Yep.
And are these all penis?
Tidal wave is it's got it's penis envy crossed with B plus.
Okay.
Gorilla wizard. So that's going to be like more of like a Melmac, which
Okay.
is kind of like an original penis envy.
Dude, those Melmacs, I've seen some pictures on Reddit.
They're awesome.
They
I
can
love
look
Melmac.
gnarly.
Yep.
Like just big fatties.
Big gnarly stems on them.
Yeah.
They kind of like call that like the homestead penis envies, but there's still kind of like this. Nobody actually knows where a lot of this shit comes
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Do you know why, like, sometimes with the penis envies, they can be finicky as far as like temperature and humidity and all that stuff?
The
they just-
penis.
yeah, it's the penis.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
They're not as finicky as those damn vagina envies, though.
Oh,
They
God,
have
those
bitch
things.
all the time.
Bat wings.
Yeah.
Once the veil breaks, it's everywhere.
I think it's a lot of it's just domestication too. You
Okay.
know, it's just like everything's gotten babied,
Gotcha.
and it's like in nature, evolution drives for sturdiness,
Yeah.
and that can be done in the lab too. You know, but it's just kind of like, and people think that they want what they don't want a lot of times.
So does this go back, not to go back to the beginning where we were talking about this, but people falsely think that it's just potency.
Yeah, and there's even like there's a lot of my strains are stronger than penis envies.
Gotcha.
But they just kind of they've heard it, they're comfortable with it. You know, it's like back in the day, it was like I want my AK-47s,
yeah.
and it was like, and I'm talking
yeah.
about the weed strain, not the guns.
My favorite strain, the strain that hits me the best that I love is pre-98 Bubba Kush,
Yep.
which on paper isn't impressive, but it gets me more high in a way that I like than like a strain testing in the 20s, even though most Bubbas are in the like 12,
Yeah.
percent range. So like, yeah, I think it's we found out, like when we had Jonathan on about how, it's like the way the cannabinoids interact in the weed plant is similar for mushrooms. It's a combination of chemicals that are giving you the effect.
Yeah, absolutely, but that's still just like so understudied and unknown.
Yeah.
We probably don't know how they interact or what levels of what do what.
So, and then we have the blocks in here.
Yes.
So like, I'm gonna do these bad boys. Like, what's kind of the process that I would need to go? Do you have like individual growing instructions?
Yeah, I have video tutorials.
Okay, for each strain.
No, because it's all going to be relatively similar with those bags.
Okay, and
Yeah.
the temperature is
Temperature's going to be similar, yeah.
similar?
Yeah, it's all
So-
pretty flexible. Like, probably the most common question I get is lighting.
Yeah.
And it's like so easy to overthink mushroom lighting. And whoever's going to come up with, be the smart guy that comes up with mushroom lights specifically for magic mushrooms is probably going to make some money, but it's also going to be like
Well,
the biggest.
when we
fucking
grew them in
rip-off
college,
the history of.
what we read was you just need a light bulb.
That's all you need. Like, this is good.
Yeah.
Avoid direct sunlight,
Yeah.
just because like they kind of get like a greenhouse effect with the bag.
Yeah.
So we get a lot
Gotcha.
of condensation, and
You
they
don't
don't
want
they
'em to
don't like
mold.
fucking staring at the sun.
It's weird though because some of the strains, it seems like they like a little bit of indirect light.
They all do.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I would say, like if you're comfortable, they're comfortable. Like
Yeah.
if you can sit there naked, they're gonna love it.
Oh, like if you,
Yeah, but if you're
So-
a little chilly, they're a little chilly.
So I
if you're
think-
like if you need sunglasses, they need sunglasses.
I think I've now realized what's going on. I've been showing my penis envies my penis, and I think they're like,
They
it's
need
time to stop
sunglasses.
growing now.
We're ready.
We're fat and little. This is what Dad's looks like.
Yeah, my buddy grew some in college, and I helped him with some Puerto Ricans, and they were fucking awesome. But yeah, he just had a little crawl space, and we were like, we were into weed more, but we were like, man, maybe this kind of, you don't need a light. A helicopter can see through your ceiling.
Right. Yeah.
This is pretty cool.
It is.
Like, it was worse of a punishment, I think, though, than growing weed, wasn't it? Growing mushrooms.
Oh yeah, back then till like Denver decrimmed.
Yeah.
Like I started Denver Sport Company the day after Denver County decriminalized mushrooms.
Which was what year, if you want
It
to?
was 2018.
2018, and the day after.
Yeah.
Had you already been into growing yourself? If that's, I don't know if that's
I've been growing for I started growing in like my early 20s.
okay. And did you go from all like psychedelic mushrooms, or did you move into any gourmet?
I've like grown out of just kind of a bucket list thing. Most
Yeah.
gourmets I've grown, but it's been like once.
Okay.
But I started off with psilocybes and have always been there.
Okay. Now, this is maybe a weird question. Did you like mushrooms prior to getting into psilocybin, like oysters?
No.
Okay.
No, I was like, so what happened was I had that
You'd
bad
pick
trip.
them off your pizza?
Pick them off your pet frog. You're
I
like,
mean,
this
if
is-
it was like mixed in, I was like not disgusted by them, but I was absolutely like didn't love them.
yeah.
Yeah.
But after like that bad trip when I was 16, I was 20 and I was working with a guy I'm still really good friends with. And he did like little PF tech grow, little brown rice flour cakes. And I was like, I'm going to try those again, but I'm going to fucking not eat the eighth. I'll eat like, he's like, eat just like 1.5 grams, 2 grams, you know? And had like this life-changing experience.
Wonderful.
Of just like understanding like my judgment on spirituality and stuff and like why am I here? Like it was very introspective, but it wasn't like overwhelming. It was like I got a lot of answers of like it's not a scary guy in the sky any you know, like nobody's watching me fucking take shit
Were
or
you
jerk off or
were you like Christian before?
no,
then,
but I
or
was kind of
religious?
just had that instilled. I did like when we were little, there was like you're supposed to believe in God,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but it wasn't like Christian school.
You didn't go to
Yeah,
church
no,
and-
not, like a little bit when we were little.
like the holidays and
Yeah,
shit.
but
Do you think there was an ego or cockiness difference from the first time you did it to the second time you did it?
I think it definitely just because when I was like 16, like I think I was still developing an ego almost, you know, and like I remember being like when I was little, I like had a lot of wonder of like, what the fuck am I?
Right.
What is life? Like, how does this work? Just like real wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so when that hit when I was 16, it was like, whoa, we're stuck in that place that we've learned to be like, get the fuck out of here. Just, you know, do your homework. Like,
Yeah.
shut up. Just, make jokes, you know, like get a cool car, get a cool bike, wear cool clothes. Like that's what we need to be focusing on. Not like the, whoa.
Yeah.
And
And,
that
like,
just-
and then you're like, fuck the man.
Just gets obliterated.
Well, and that was when I was like 20. It was like this awesome experience. And then that's when I was just like, how you doing that, buddy?
Yeah.
You know, can I borrow your pressure cooker?
Yeah. Well, I asked because I found out that, and I've talked to a couple other people about this, is like any time that I'd gone into a psychedelic experience kind of cocky, like I can handle this.
Yeah.
It's always grabbed a hold of me and shook me where I'm like, oh, all right, I'm not that tough. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. And that's like you don't fight mushrooms.
No, I mean, I think that's with any psychedelic experience. Wherever it's taking you, you have to go, I'm not controlling this.
We're going.
And that's once you start to fight it, I feel like that's when it's got you in a chokehold and it goes, okay, we're going to teach you a lesson now.
And like, even like through that, after I was growing them, you know, and I was eating them and I'd kind of get stuck in this thought loop of like thinking about thinking and how fucking weird it is to be thinking and where am I thinking and who's thinking that? Are you hearing that? Are you thinking that? Who's saying that? You know, it's just like, and all of a sudden you get like, it's almost like a whang, and you're like, life is weird, you know? Like, I don't actually get any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the moment you realize that nobody knows what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah. And I would like really get into that. And I'd start to freak out. And I'm like, I would like, Eric, you're not allowed to fucking do anything till you figure this out, you know? And it was just like, I'm like, and I'd get scared. And I'm like, I'd get scared. And I'm like, what the fuck? Finally, it's to be like, what the fuck is going on? And then I was kind of like, you know, I'd come down off those trips and I was like, Eric, you're actually allowed to think about that.
Yeah.
You just can't demand an answer out of it. Like, just like, it's okay to think that way and don't be scared to like wonder where that is. But quit freaking out,
Yeah.
man. Like,
So this leads into a question. Do you? I know that you've mentioned that you're not really religious, but after all these experiences, would you say that you see yourself as more spiritual now after these encounters?
yes, definitely. Higher power, connection. I mean, when I've closed my eyes and I've gone like not physical that I could touch, but like I was fucking there.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
definitely like entities or spirits
Yeah.
that I absolutely like. It's just as real as me talking to AJ right now.
Yeah.
Like it was there. Now, granted, like brain chemistry is fucking crazy. Like we don't understand the brain, we don't understand the chemicals, but like it feels very real and
Yeah.
it feels very loving and it feels genuine. It's a great place to know that's probably where I came from.
Yeah.
That's probably where I'm going.
Well, when you think about perception and the percentage of perception that creates reality, it seems heavy that would be part of your reality spectrum.
You lost me.
Okay. So when you think about what reality is, it comes down to a certain percentage of perception, right? So when you feel in those moments what is or isn't real, in that moment, you're going to go, oh, this is very real.
Absolutely real.
And it's real enough to change how you see the world,
Definitely.
right?
Yep.
So
What's the most you've ever eaten?
Like 7 grams.
Yeah.
that's a heroic dose.
Yeah.
What
That's heavy.
strain?
I think they were Melmax.
Yeah.
And that was I was going through kind of a rough time, like too much drinking.
Yeah.
And I kind of used that as like a Hail Mary. I just grinded it up, put it in a smoothie.
Yeah.
And I drank it down and I was just like, what the fuck did I just do? Like, all the worry in the world. It was like you're gonna have to face this, And honestly, it was a heroic dose. I just laid in the bed. I remember thinking about squirrels a lot for some reason. I was like, what does a squirrel do? That's probably the meaning of life. It's just like run around and fucking
Eat nuts.
grab your
Question
nuts.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, grab your nuts,
Yeah.
move on.
But I didn't do like any
Fuck with
integration
dogs.
after it. I was back to drinking pretty quick after that.
But was your idea to do that to actually get some sort of understanding of whether you were or were not drinking too much?
Oh, I knew I was drinking too much.
Okay. So what was the hoped outcome?
That I would stop drinking.
Okay.
That I would come across this like,
So you were hoping at one moment you were going to take this massive dose and then you were going to see whatever it is to go, Eric, what the fuck are you doing? You're
Exactly.
fucking up. Stop drinking. Everything will write itself out. And because you didn't see that, you're like, well, it's clearly not a problem.
Yeah, I know. It was just, I think that's why, for people with mental health issues and addiction issues, that's the beauty of the other half of Proposition 122 here. I love this half of decriminalize. Anybody 21 or older can be a fucking grown up and do whatever the fuck they want with mushrooms.
Right.
Yeah.
But the other half of like, okay, if you're not okay, or you need some help and you've tried all these other standard ways to fucking get better and it's just not working, like this is a chance, another thing that might help you.
Or maybe you haven't tried some of those things, I don't think it needs to be a last
No,
resort,
not at all either.
Yeah.
Me either. And I also don't believe that, you have to have these problems to be able to benefit from mushrooms.
Right.
Even if you're the happiest guy in the world, you can maybe be a happier guy in the world through some mushrooms.
Right.
But the side that, is what I'm getting at is like, it didn't do much for me in that time because I didn't do any therapy with it. I didn't do any integration. I would just fucking ate the shit. I just ate too many and
Thought about
I had to
squirrels.
close my eyes for 6 hours.
Right.
Like I did. I remember being like getting that time death and like going away and coming back and being like, oh yeah, this place again. Like I've been there for 1,000,000 years.
Had you been drinking before you took them?
No,
Okay.
like the day before.
Okay.
So you
It was like a It was like a morning thing, or 11 o'clock in the daytime after.
That you took the 7 grams.
Yeah,
Okay.
do you still drink?
off and on. Yeah.
I used to be like a 5-day a week binge drinker. every week, you know, like, you know, usually Wednesday through Sunday or Thursday through Sunday.
Right.
Then I'd feel like I was going to die for like 2 days. And then I'd be like, oh, I feel good. And then I'd go do it again.
Good. Yeah.
And, and there was like, I was on the fourth day of a bender, and I took a few grams of mushrooms at a bar, like out with my buddies. And I was just like, we gotta go. And we went back to my buddy's house, and I cried and talked to them. And I didn't drink for like 2 months after that. And then I feel like I still, you know, there's times where I drink too much or where but I realize it and I can get back to where I need to be. And I don't, like, it used to be like if it was Friday or Saturday, like I was fucking drunk. Like, that's what you do on Friday or Saturday, you know? Yep. And like now a lot of times, I mean, for years since that, those days have gone by, but it was that one dose that really, and I was drunk when I took it, you know, but it changed my relationship with alcohol forever, you know?
Yeah. There was a big study. In AA, they don't really like to talk about this too much, but what Bill W. had done when it was, LSD was a big part of sobriety. Because what happens, and I can't say this for everyone, but stereotypically, so I don't get hate mail.
Right.
But a lot of people, you go down that road of alcoholism and you end up kind of in a dark place or becoming quote unquote a piece of shit. And then when you take a heavy psychedelic, you can't run from that. Like it is thrown in your face. And then the hope is that when you come out of it the next day, you got to go, I've had to realize so many things about myself that then you go, I'm either going to change it or I'm just going to continue to bury it with this thing.
Well, yeah, for me, it was just at that moment, it was like, I don't want to die. I like life. And I realized that if I didn't change,
that wasn't a possibility.
That wasn't a possibility, but it also was like I had some sort of like willpower that I hadn't have had before, where I was like, I didn't feel like I didn't want it, and you know, any other time I was just like, God, what do I even do what do people do that don't drink, you know? And then when I was sober those 2 months, I noticed so much, like being around people drinking and be like, holy shit, this is what I'm like. And you know, and then that changed a lot. And then I'd also just be like, whoa, this person's like this, and they drink half of what I normally you know? Like fucking so.
And so Eric, I imagine that you've seen all sorts of people that have used mushrooms for different things. Is there a case of a friend or someone that you know that has benefited immensely from it? That stands out?
I meet people like, I get 5-10 messages a week.
Really?
Yeah. Of like, because I sell quite a few of these kids.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of the people, 99% of them, you know, there's no bulk grower trying to make $1 million growing mushrooms coming to Eric for a freaking all-in-one bag.
Right.
So all these people are not, most of them have mental health issues. They've done antidepressants. They've ran the whole thing. And they're just interested, you know, and they're just microdosing, or they're just doing lower doses. Or they're taking them, you know, to people, because there are people that facilitate now, but it's kind of like a bring your own mushroom kind of thing.
Right.
Or just like enjoying them with friends. But
it's just like facilitate ego death.
But they just, I mean, it's all the time that people are like, I'm doing so much better. Thank you so much for what you do. Like, my life has changed.
I mean, just people I've given mushrooms to, friends, you know, like, I mean, it's amazing how they can work when, you know, I don't know. And then there's that new antidepressant they're coming out with that's basically LSD. Have you seen that? Yeah, the pharmaceutical company.
They're just like, let's do it.
Yeah, there's a new one coming out, and
get it approved.
The efficient, like it works really well, and it's like it's LSA like 26 basically is what it is.
Yeah.
So
like, who would have thought?
Yeah. Surprise.
That's got to feel pretty good though. Is that part of why you moved into this industry? Like the fact of knowing that you're making a massive difference in people's lives by allowing them to kind of self-curate their own mental health.
For sure. So like after that life-changing trip when I was like 20, I just started growing them for myself. And then I just fell in love with the hobby of it. And then I got really fucking good at it. And then Denver's doing this thing. It's like, I remember it was popping up, like, we're going to try to decriminalize magic mushrooms. And I was like, probably not going to happen. But, you know, I went and I helped them a little bit, like pass out flyers and stuff. And I remember I was down like in the Santa Fe Art District handing out flyers. And it was like, everybody was like, yes, fuck yeah, good. Yeah. And like, I'm not talking just like hippies.
A lot of people have tried them once.
Yeah, you know, and they were like, I'm not against this at all. And they know the facts. They don't listen to the fear of, oh, it's a Schedule 1 for a reason. It's like, no, this shit is fucking relatively safe, very safe for general people to take. And there's no reason for people going to jail for it.
Right.
And I was like, this fucking thing might go.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, just ready, you know. And then it went, and I was like, Denver Sport Company, LLC.
Wow.
Well,
and the spectrum of people that use, I mean, you know a clientele. It's got to go from flip-flop, tie-dyes, all the way to suits.
I was going to ask you, no names, obviously, but like, what are some of the like people that have came in that have been the most like shocking to you that they came in?
Old lady with a walker.
Yeah.
You know, like full hunchback, like, and she's like, and this is, so when I first started Denver Sport, I started doing classes.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I was just ready for flip-flops and tie-dye.
When you were doing classes, was it, you were specifically talking about how to grow your own club?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do like it was like a 2-hour class. COVID killed it, and I just never got back into it.
COVID killed a lot of things.
COVID killed a lot of things, including my mushroom class.
Especially Republicans.
But I would do like about an hour on just general mushroom info, and then an hour on like growing your own mushrooms.
Okay.
And it was like really, that's when I really fell in love with people. I'd been like a basement grower for the last 15 years before that, you know, so it was like scared, you know, was I always afraid, like, is tonight the night DEA kills your dogs, snatches your freaking girlfriend out of
every
bed
helicopter
naked.
that flies over your fucking house. You hear some loud noises outside. You're like, fuck, they're here. Like, they're coming. You
a little too much weed gummy on top of that, dude. And you're like having a bad night, you know, for a long time.
Oh,
man.
when I had my illegal grow, man, it was fucking scary. Yeah. And you're like, does it smell out? Well, and with mushrooms, there's less, you know, things to give up the jig. But like, yeah.
And I had the same, you know, I just had like the red card grows and stuff for a long time. And it was always just, it was stressful just because you're like you're not on the, I'm 100% fucking cool if you come here. Like, you know?
Yeah. Well, and there's still that, you know, kind of gray area of like what happens if if an FBI agent comes in here. Mm-hmm. I mean, still in Colorado, if an FBI agent comes in your dispensary, they could technically get your ass, you know? Mm-hmm. So like, and in the early days of weed, there was a lot of organized crime involved in it. So there would be FBI raids, and you'd be like, they're coming for all of us.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, they fucking, you'd be like, no, that was like, these were Russian mafia guys. You
they
know,
want the heroin and the guns too.
Yeah.
There's sex trafficking coming along with this too. Like,
there was like always more, but that day when those raids are going and you're seeing them on the westward, you know, you're like, fuck. You know, I'm like, should we shut the store down? Should we fucking, should we, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I definitely had to do that once at a house, you know, where I had way over 100 plants. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my buddy got in trouble and is like, they came to his house and raided his house. Somehow didn't know that he owned another house that I was in with fucking hundreds of plants.
Yeah.
Didn't come there. I'm so mad I cut them down. They were like 3 weeks from fucking harvest and like, or no, they were 4. It was where it was like, just not
Pistoled
enough,
up, but
not enough to like really like you could maybe hash them, you know, but like it was
the worst fucking time for it to happen.
Yeah, the worst fucking time, and
I had one where it was like I had this house for a long time, and I was like, I'm gonna go legit with this thing, get red cards for it, you know. So I got like a handful of 50s, and submit it. Well, Denver County, you can only grow 6 plants no matter what.
Right.
The residential area. But I was like, I mean, I knew it, but I didn't know it, you know. Well, when that shit comes across their table and they see like high plant counts, they're like, let's go visit the house.
Oh.
And so I'd been growing there for years, and like I knew all my neighbors. And they came up, like plain clothes, badges, and he's like, hey, we just want to check it out. We know you're growing weed in here. Are you growing weed in here? I'm like, yeah, but it's not my house. It's my buddy's house, He's not home. And he's like, well, we'll just come take a quick look. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
And I was like,
We're going to get a warrant.
Well, when will he be home? And I was like, I don't know, probably like 10 o'clock tonight. And he's like, well, we only work till 5, so we'll come back at 8 tomorrow morning. And I was like, okay.
That's a great idea.
And we fucking got
It's
the U-Haul,
moving time.
and we just loaded it up, parked it at the Home Depot, let him come in. I kept like 60 plants or something. Yeah. And then he starts coming at me with you're under 100, some federally, don't worry. But you're only allowed to have 6 in Denver. And I was like, this is fucking news to me. And he's like, yeah, it's a zoning thing. It's just zoning. He's like, you're not in trouble. We're going to give you a zoning ticket. And I was like, don't fucking write that ticket. I was like, the only reason why you're here wasn't a neighbor complaint.
Yeah.
You saw my papers come across your desk with a higher plant count than 6.
Yeah.
And I was like, look at the doctor paperwork. Where's an asterisk here anywhere that says if you're in Denver County? I was like, how am I supposed to know about this?
Right.
And now I have a bunch of medical patients that relied on this medicine, and you're just going to come chop it away. And I was like, you already chopped my plants. Don't write that ticket.
Right.
And he's like, he goes outside, and then Tyvek dude that was in there cutting plants, he comes back, and he's like, you're the first person I've not seen to get a zoning ticket. And I was like, and the guy too, he was like,
what is that ticket?
I think it's just a fine.
That zoning fucked me so bad because we signed a 3-year lease on a commercial property in Denver to grow, and then they made it all fucking I2, I3 or whatever, and I had to pay rent. I tried different businesses, but it was just like, it fucked me.
It wasn't supposed to. You had a plant.
Yeah, it cost me $50,000 a year in rent, you know, where I couldn't grow weed. It was fucking horrible.
Mm-hmm. And he said, I've been telling him we should put it on the news or something. I was like, I don't watch the fucking news. Put it on the piece of paper.
Right.
Well,
it's also, it's unfortunate to then penalize somebody who is legitimately you were trying to do the right thing, which seems like what you were pushing. You're like, you saw me doing what was following the rules.
Yep.
Yep.
Had I not filled out your pink slips, you wouldn't know I existed.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was a roller coaster of an experience, and then I just
I really
moved house.
I should
shut that house down.
I should have just moved those plants, but it was like I thought they were coming within the fucking hour, you know. So it's like, how many can I get? Like, I got to get this under 100, or I'm fucking like when you're over 100 plants federally, like that's a lot of jail time.
It is.
Like, it's a long fucking time, and I was fucking shitting my fucking pants. Like, oh man.
Yeah. So you travel around a lot. Are you going outside of Denver to speak or to talk about this?
Not so much speaking. I do like a lot more like pop-up event stuff, or just have vending booths at places.
I'm not familiar with how the law is now, but federally, this is legal, right?
Yes.
Until it's in there and in mushrooms, it's fucking...
Yeah, this alone, because that's just... I mean, you can fucking grow any mold on that whatever you want to do.
Yeah. But the syringe with the spores, it's legal.
It's legal.
And I even heard this back in the day. I don't know if it was urban legend, but as long as the mushrooms are, like, alive and connected, they're legal too?
Only in the state of New Mexico.
Okay, because I heard there were certain states where like they had to be
and now Colorado
dried to become illegal.
Gotcha.
No, so the federal law is psilocybin containing mushrooms.
Okay. Illegal. Period.
Illegal. Period. So now that does leave some gray room for mycelium.
Yeah, because they don't have.
But you can't.
The compound itself is a Schedule 1 drug.
Right.
Psilocybin, psilocin, like absolutely can't have possession of that.
Okay.
Trace amount, lot amount. But it's kind of weird where the rule is, but it's written mushrooms, containing mushrooms. It doesn't say containing mycelium.
Gotcha.
Now, granted, I don't want to be the guy that's fighting that in fucking court.
Right.
But I've had, like, the question, too, with, like, live culture syringes. So, like, the difference between a live culture syringe and a spore syringe is the spores are basically like the seeds of the mushroom. The live culture is like live mycelium suspended in the syringe.
So that's where you're cutting a piece off and then cloning it.
Or just really growing that mycelium either in like an aqueous solution or like blending it up so you can get it into a syringe.
Okay.
What is an aqueous solution?
Just like water. Yeah. Oh, that's the most sciencey freaking word I know.
Aqua. I get it now. Yeah. No, fuck yeah. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna.
But
you should have asked for a glass of aqueous solution.
like fucking Windex for you. But the DEA just came out and finally like made a statement on spores. Like technically before it was legal because they didn't contain psilocybin. And I just think it's something that until people were making a ton of money doing it, they just didn't really care about it.
Right.
But now that it was an attorney, I think in New York or something, finally like directly asked the DEA, like, will you make a statement on mushroom spores? And they were like, any spores do not contain psilocybin. If they don't contain psilocybin and psilocin, then they're legal. And then it kind of had like this little extra, like anything that doesn't contain psilocybin or psilocin is a non-chargeable offense. So like, and I've had
Holy
tons
shit!
of
So
my-
you just like walk
I've
up
had
there with a
tons of
bag
my-
of Coke, and you're like, "There's no fucking psilocybin in this."
Get you on the other one. Yeah, sometimes I think your bloodstream would be illegal.
Right.
But so like with live culture, that's always been like a gray area. Can you sell live culture?
Right.
And it's always been like the armchair fucking guy on the forum is going to
Yeah.
be like, yes, because it contains psilocybin. And every single live culture syringe that I've had tested, and granted I make my live culture a little bit different, that I've had tested is doesn't show up.
Gotcha.
Period.
Now, once you're growing mycelium, you cannot. Can a person ingest the mycelium?
Yeah, I mean
Before
you
it
can eat,
fruits.
but you're not going to get high.
I guess
But you
that's the
can eat
big
it.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, you
can
can
eat
eat anything
Yeah,
if you're if you want to put it in the old.
you would
mouth.
be drinking, but you'd just be drinking water and mycelium, and it's not
Right.
going to make you sick. It's not going to get you high. Your body's just going to be like,
This is gross."
Thanks for the little
Yeah.
bit of protein there, buddy. You know,
Right.
So, Eric, I'm going to be America's next fruit-based folk hero. Fruit-based folk hero
Fruit-based folk
with
hero.
kiwis.
Okay.
But I think America needs a mushroom-based folk hero. You said you're probably covered in spores right now. I think what would be fun, like a Johnny Appleseed, but with mushrooms. So, like, a fun thing I think is when you travel, you should just roll around on the ground wherever you go.
I should. I really should. And I have put spore prints on my shirts and then got on an airplane.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh, like smuggled them?
Yeah, they'll just put them on you. You know, like they're not going to show up. They're legal.
Yeah.
I mean, now granted,
Because you like the idea of like
and now that I
maybe
think
bringing
about
them
it, though,
to a new place.
Yeah, but now that I think about it, I mean, like I don't see psilocybin cubensis being an invasive species somewhere, but I also like wouldn't encourage. Nature does balance itself, and if you start just fucking bringing shit everywhere, like,
Yeah.
I don't see.
It's like in 20 years, like Denver is just
just,
like
like,
fucking
covered in
only mushrooms on the ground,
Yeah.
It's like,
You gotta like you're mowing them in your yard.
yeah.
But like the thing with psilocybin cubensis is they can't freeze. So like if you grow them here, you can do an outdoor bed in the spring, just like throw down some spawn and some mulch and some horse manure, and they'll probably pop up in the spring and the fall. But then through the winter, you're gonna get a ground freeze, and it's just gonna kill the mycelium.
Okay.
And like I get people fantasize about this idea of outdoor grows with them, and I'm like, you can just fucking grow it inside. Like it's not like it's this. It's like compared to growing weed with like I paid Excel more than I fucking made. Looking back on it,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
like I just like,
Excel made
between
so much
failed crop,
fucking money.
Just they loved it. I'm just like, don't.
And we don't allow monopolies in this country.
No,
Yeah.
no.
No, at one point in time, so I still don't have. I haven't had Excel Power in my name for 9 years because I think when I walked away, I owed them like fucking $8,000 or something. I was just like, "Fuck you, good luck. I'm never paying you." No, when we moved into this house, even my girlfriend was like, "Do you think we could maybe?" Do you want to put the electric in your name? And I was like,
Absolutely
no, I do not deal with Excel
they
Energy.
think I'm dead.
Yeah, if they call my phone, it says that this number has been disconnected. All right, like they do not know I exist. Do not tell them I exist.
Yeah.
But no, there was times where like the amount of money I was giving them was fucking.
God.
Ugh. That's why I've actually thought about maybe growing weed myself, just a plant or two for myself. Because like I think LEDs are finally kind of
Doable?
close. Yeah, like
Yeah.
where it's worth it, you know? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, no heat, no. I'm like, that would maybe make growing weed one plant or two kind of fun.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Like I don't have to worry about exhaust or like my power bill going up $100 because I feel like even one sodium light fucking jacks your shit.
Oh,
up
yeah, dude. It was-
decent.
Yeah, for sure. A few $100 maybe.
Yeah.
Especially summertime. Got to AC that shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
even when you stick a little window shaker in there and you're trying to like balance this thing, you know, you're like, well, if I turn it up to 7 at noon,
Yeah.
and then I got to come back in at night and turn it on, you know, it's just like,
Yeah, a few years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm thinking about growing weed just during the winter to heat the house.
yeah,
I lived in an old house. It's like maybe it'd be less expensive than to run this old furnace than to just run a HPS and vent it to my house.
Yeah.
Like,
The funnest grow I ever did was the only time I tried to grow outside. It was like I was living in Park Hill, and I had just like a chain link fence, and I just like went around and sourced some free pallets, like put this little box together, put a little hoop over it, threw some like that 3mm like 3M plastic, but it was
Yeah.
kind of like milky,
Yeah.
you know, so like. And I put 6 plants in there, and it fucking blew up. Like I just, like I'd go out there and kill grasshoppers and water it, you know. And it was awesome.
yeah.
And then I was like, I remember it was like a Thursday, and I was like, I should go chop that shit. It's so ready, and the whole neighborhood stinks. And I was like, I'll just do it this weekend, just out of sheer laziness.
Kids got it.
Yeah.
The kids got it, man. And I was gonna chop it too, so I had like, you know, trash bags, shears. Fucking
They
everything
stole
ready to
everything
cut.
they needed?
Yeah.
Oh,
No
man.
security. Just trusting old Park Hill neighborhood, man.
Oh, I have friends that do greenhouse and outdoor, and like one of my buddies, the kids like come and get. They don't ever take all of it, but they'll take like parts of a plant off, and part of me's like, oh, I guess you got to pay the kid tax.
Yeah.
Fucking.
It's just a nip here.
Man, I would have loved being a kid. It was so hard to get weed when
I
I was
know.
growing up. Like, fuck.
You had to have cool friends with cool parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you could only sneak a little.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
But then you
you
just
don't want them to move the stash.
yeah.
And they know, but they're just like, as long as they're not
I had a buddy
taking it
that,
all.
that I don't know
like-
if this is true, but he had a pretty sweet truck in high school, and he basically was like, "Yeah, I found all my parents' weed and shit," and then was like, "Yeah, I'm real worried about you guys. I mean, I know what the right thing to do is," and they're like, "We're gonna get you a truck," and he's like, "Oh, cool."
Blackmailing the parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those dare arrows, man. That shit would be scary to be a parent and just trying to fucking smoke a little weed.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Trying to stay off the whiskey.
Yeah.
Just trying to be a good parent.
And man, I know it'd be
Blam.
behind. Yeah, if I was doing it, it'd be behind lock and key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old Reagan days.
But yeah, there's a lot of goodies in that house. There's like a huge box of just like chubby girl porn. That was pretty cool. There's all kinds of fun. Just out to find. You know?
Oh, man, that's fucking funny.
But
Man.
yeah. Well,
So you're kind of the
We're almost
the
coming up.
Johnny Mushroom seed of
oh yeah, you missed
Denver's
that.
legalization.
I was saying that to him that, you know, I'm the fruit based. He should be the fungus based,
Yeah.
and that when he gets off the plane everywhere, he should just roll around and
Yeah.
spread mushrooms.
just fart spores.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been like an hour 20. I think we should probably.
Yeah, we didn't get into too many questions. I mean, I've got some.
Yeah, I think based on our conversation though, I have a opinion.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a few rapid fires real quick?
Yeah. Do you have sandals, open-toed shoes, barefoot, any of that?
Like just the beach flip flop.
Beach flip-flops. Do you enjoy being outside barefooted at all?
I will wear my flip flops on the beach.
Okay. Okay.
Stephanie, my wife, when we get to the beach, she kicks them off, and I'm just like, it can be the softest sand in the world. I'm just like, oh, I got soft soles.
Tender
man.
feet.
Yeah, super soft.
Tenderfoot.
Okay.
Do you wear tie dye?
Just some Denver Sport tie dye.
Okay.
So you have tie dye for your company?
Yeah, but it's kind of lame.
I got a friend that could change that.
Yeah, I should do it.
Yeah, she does some really good work. Music. What type of music do you listen to?
Punk rock.
Punk rock?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your guys? What were some of your
Like
favorites?
growing up, I was really lucky. My sister, she had a great job at Albertsons, and she loved her little brother, so she could afford those $10 punk rock nights. So I'd
Yeah.
go with all her friends. They were 3 years older than me.
Yeah. And how old are you?
I'm 37.
Okay. Were you around for Fugazi or did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't like see him.
Yeah.
I was on the later end.
Okay.
Like a lot of like NoFX.
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
play in bands at all?
I fucked with guitar, but I've never even. I don't play guitar. I have a guitar. I played it, but don't ask me to play guitar.
I love how your ego was like, yeah, dude, you always wanted to do this. Tell him this is your chance. And then you're like, nope. Remember the 7 grams. Okay.
Yeah.
But I do like that's not the only thing I listen to.
Yeah.
I like classic rock a lot.
Okay.
I like anything groovy. I'm not really into the EDM.
Okay.
I try.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Is it too much? Just like,
yeah,
too
and I'm
much
just like,
bass.
where's the fun?
Yeah.
Do you play sports?
I grew up playing baseball. I like to play golf. I like to snowmobile.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you hunt?
I don't. I tried to when I tried to get into bow hunting,
Yeah.
and I had one shot at one deer, and I'm glad I missed it.
You would have break your heart. I don't know if I
Yeah.
have the heart to kill it.
Yeah, and I would have had to eat the whole thing, and after that found out I don't like fucking deer very much.
Really? Have you ever had elk or antelope?
I've had elk. I haven't had antelope.
Okay.
I like elk enough. I'm big on the bison.
I'll give you some. My buddy in Wyoming kills more than he can eat, and one of the things he does, he just enjoys the process, and so gifts every year around for his close friends. Like he fills our freezer. I have an elk quarter sitting in a freezer that at some point I have to process.
Yeah.
But it's good meat.
Yeah.
Have you processed an elk leg before?
Yeah,
You have?
yeah. The first time I did it, it took me 3 days because it was like 85 pounds.
Just a bunch of small bites, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's
Imagine it just takes a long time to thaw.
I don't know how I'm going to thaw this one because it's going to be weird. I
What
mean,
do you
maybe,
get out of like a whole quarter? You just make
dude, so much meat. I mean,
you get like steaks and stuff out of it?
you can fillet steaks out of it if you want. The easiest thing to do once it starts to thaw and you can kind of clean it up, get as much sinew off of it as you can, that little weird shiny layer, and then just grind it. Just grind it in a burger or sausage, depending on what you're mixing with it. A lot of times when you run it through a grinder, you put bacon or back fat or something
fat
with it.
in there, yeah.
Otherwise, the meat is genuinely so lean it'll clog up the grinder.
Oh, damn.
But yeah, it took me so long. I mean, it was I could not imagine having to do like a moose.
Well, don't you have a new dehydrator?
Yeah,
You
I
should
do.
definitely cut some slabs off and make some jerky.
You definitely could do jerky.
Every time I've tried to just do homemade
Jerky's-
jerky with the dehydrator, granted, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but it has turned out like a baseball glove.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just chewing on it, like telling yourself it's good, trying to not
Yeah.
waste it. But I'm
You
like,
gotta
this is.
find someone who does it enough that gives you some of the like tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like, you get the meat off, put it in a seasoning bag, leave it for X amount of time, and then
Cure
lay
it.
it out. And once it's cured, yeah, you can't
yeah.
go over that time.
And you know who
know?
has the best tips?
Yeah.
The Jerky Boys.
But it's really good. And I gave Zach some of the breakfast sausage, and dude, it's tasty.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Cool. Yeah, I think I got it. I think I have an opinion. All right. Too much EDM. After a long night, that's what EDM starts to sound like. You're just like, shh, 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 shh.
yeah, and a lot of.
That's that Jamaican dub
Yeah.
too. Sometimes.
Pow, 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 pow.
But all right.
All right, ready? 2.
1. Hippie.
Okay, yeah, hippie. I was like, we really fucked that one up. Let's just do it one more time and we can edit.
No, I like it. We went
Okay.
back and forth. We got
did.
it.
All right.
it. The
Yeah,
people
okay.
at home are going to be like, no.
No, fucking yeah. Where do you have him on the scale?
So wait, we're voting hippie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Does that hurt you? And
There's been a couple people that we knew didn't want it.
Like,
and
I don't
we
even
immediately
fucking-
leaned into it.
burn incense, boys.
We just texted all your friends all your punk rock friends that you're officially.
He's out of the not having a band.
No,
We're stealing his guitar.
No, I'll embrace it.
I have you just over though at a like a 5.5, 6.
yeah, I had you at about a 6, so it wasn't
The ego
enough.
death, the mushrooms, the I still like. What really sold me was I was like didn't know which way to go, but when you used groovy to describe the music that you liked, I was like, I don't know, he likes groovy.
Yeah, I
If
think
groovy's in your vernacular, you know.
I think my thing is, and I always lean this aspect of like the spirituality and what a person's pushing into the world. And it seems like you have a purpose of this entire thing, not just like I want people to party, I want people to get fucked up. There's this beautiful idea of seeing people better themselves by something you're helping bring into the world. And that was a big push for me.
Yeah, but I almost said no based on your work ethic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a hard 9 when you tried to quit drinking, but when you went back, I was like, here we go back down. It's back up and down the number line.
Yeah.
Where
Eric-
can people find you?
DenverSportCompany.com. I do also have an education site. So, well, this is the one thing we didn't touch. The hardest thing about my business has been credit card processors.
Yeah.
They're fucking pain in the ass.
And
But
why is
to
that?
keep them happy, because they just don't want to deal with it.
A bit because of what the product is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. High risk, whatever. And it's not that it's like, don't try to explain something to a credit card processor. They're just like, I don't care. Terms and conditions. Move along. You
Gotcha.
know?
Yeah.
So to keep them happy, I also have the DenverSportGrow.com, where it's all education stuff, videos, frequently asked questions, blogs, strain information, all that stuff. So that's kind of like the fun side. DenverSportCompany.com is just shop.
Yeah.
Okay. Big events coming up?
Yeah, we have the Denver Shroom Fest.
That's the first of its kind.
That's the first of its kind. June 9th. It's at Real Works in Denver.
That's my birthday.
Yeah, baby. Gonna be there.
For sure.
DJs. And that's kind of a,
EDM?
yeah, in the evening. Dude, don't put me in charge of the fucking Mushroom Festival's music. a lot of diverse live music too.
Okay.
You know, I think
Yeah.
the last couple sets I'll be like, I think we got 2 female DJs coming.
Gotcha.
You can find Eric on the dance floor with his hands over his ears. Moshing.
Silent disco.
Yeah, silent disco.
But that should be really cool. It's going to be hopefully lots of art, vendors, music, definitely encouraging consumers to come.
Okay.
But we're not encouraging consumption.
Gotcha.
If you get my drift
Yeah.
there. There should
And man,
be gifting. of
coming is
mushrooms.
just as fun as consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like something that's more of a party, of a
Yeah.
fun mushroom thing. Because
And-
like these
Do you want to talk about where that's happening?
Real Works.
Real Works.
Yeah. It's just
Okay.
like a
Is that on
venue
Santa Fe
downtown.
and 6?
No, it's over in Rhino.
Okay.
It's pretty big. It's next door to Tracks.
Okay. That's,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we have Tracks, we have Real Works, and we have the Rail Yard, which is the back area.
Gotcha.
In
So
the
you
whole
have
alley.
You guys have rented out the entire thing.
entire venue.
Awesome.
Nice. Well, that's just a few blocks from my house. So
Oh, sweet. Yeah, and those tickets are at DenverShroomFest.com.
Awesome. I don't think I could let you go without asking this because I'm sure a lot of people would want to know. Out of everything you've grown, what is the largest fruit you've ever harvested?
Currently was a Trinity, and it was like I think it was over 700 wet
Holy shit.
700 grams wet.
Now, if you were holding that, what's size-wise? Big as a baby's arm?
That one's really kind of dense, a lot bigger than almost like a when it was fresh, like a caveman club.
Holy shit!
But it kind of has this weird look. Now the biggest.
What was it dry?
I think it came out to be like.
Do mushroom people go by wet weight versus dry?
The growers tend to,
because they like the bigger number.
Yeah. I think it was like a 68 gram or something like that.
That's
dry.
still gnarly.
My favorite like classic, holy shit, first time big mushroom was an albino A plus. This was probably back in 2012.
Okay,
and it was like I was running monotubs then, and I had this fourth flusher. That thing would put out some good size ones, but it was pretty consistent on like average plus size.
So were you going off blocks or were you substrates?
Substrates in the tubs, yeah. And I had like neglected this one in the bottom. I don't know, not on purpose, but I opened that thing up and I was like, oh my God. Like it went all the way across the tub and the cap, and this was like this is like a classic Cubenzi look, you know, was like, I remember when I put it in the dehydrator, it fit like a rim with a tire around it. Like it was like the exact, perfectly circle.
The whole
fit
cap?
around that. Yeah, there was just like boom. And I dehydrated. I kind of had to break the stem up.
Yeah.
And then when it shrunk down, it was like perfectly fit into a gallon freezer bag.
Whoa.
And then I gave it to one of my friends that was going to give it to one of his friends. And he was like, come on, fucker.
Yeah.
You know?
What am I going to do with this pizza?
Yeah. But I think that one was like 36 grams dry.
Wow.
I
That's
didn't
like
do wet weight then.
That first block that I grew, which was those Lucid Gates that blobbed out, which I remember reaching out to you because I was like, is this okay? Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And I mean, I had one that was like, it was 152 grams, I think,
good.
wet.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do. I mean, they were so big, I had to slice them up to dehydrate them. And I ended up grinding it into powder because I was afraid it would get moldy. But Zach is one of the only people in history that I gave a cracker to, like a little briquette. And him and a buddy ate a quarter of it. And what happened?
Oh, it was great for me. My buddy was like freaking out.
I was in.
He was like, I didn't know who I was or where I was.
That's the mushroom.
I was in Steamboat Springs and I got a text message from Zach that goes, I love Blob. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Who's Bob?
Who's Bob?
I had a great time, but my buddy though, after that, he was going through some shit, and like I think it kind of helped turn his thinking around. He's like, yeah, I don't know if I need that fucking blob again, but he's like, hey, you got to get me some of those mushrooms.
Yeah, it was wild because the next day I woke up and I was like, I reread it and I was like, oh, he said blob, and I was like, did he get into the blob? And I was like, Zach, did you get into the blob? And he goes, oh yeah. Awesome. Love Blob. And I was like, what? He goes, Blob for president. And I was like, oh, he's still going.
Yeah. Blob is great. So, hell yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Eric. And
of course, thank you guys.
If you want to buy some spores or kit to grow your own, go check out Denver Spore Company and come to the event on June 9th. And
maybe later on we'll send you some pictures, have you back on after we get some fruits going here.
Cool.
See what happens.
Hell yeah.
So
like, subscribe. Thanks for listening. Get on the motherfucking